to be loved and accepted, safe and protected. We will pray for the least of these. We will speak for the least of these, a voice for the voiceless, the pain no one sees. We will speak for the least of these, that eyes may be open, hearts may be broken. We will speak for the least of these. We will stand for the least of these. We will reach out our hands to their parents in need. We will stand for the least of these. Bring help to the helpless, hope to the hopeless. We will stand for the least of these. To be loved and accepted, safe and protected, that eyes may be open, hearts may be broken. We will stand for the least of these. We will stand for the least of these.
I'm Janet Morana, Executive Director of Peace for Life. Welcome to Just Ask Janet. Well, today, of course, it's a little sad day in the pro-life movement. A dear friend of ours, our whole ministry and the whole pro-life movement, Joe Schuyler, passed away last Monday, and today was his funeral. And I'm going to have with me now, we're going to do a lot in this program. We're going to talk about Norma McCorvey, but first I'm going to introduce our National Director, Father Frank Bavone. Welcome to the program.
Great to be here.
And of course, Father, neither you nor I were able to travel up to get to the funeral because of other commitments.
Yeah.
And I know I didn't get a chance, so I was in a meeting, but at lunchtime, it was live streamed and you got to.
Yeah, it was a beautiful Mass St. John Cantius, a beautiful Gregorian chant, as Joe would have liked it. And beautiful homily, beautiful tributes to him. And some of the family, said some things at the end. But it was very clear, and it was true. We who knew him so well, everything he did was motivated by love and by faith. Right. He wasn't just doing this as a cause. He was doing this as a Christian,
right?
As a Catholic. And no, it was a beautiful tribute. A number of pro-life leaders there, and of course, local folks and family members.
Yeah.
So we'll be doing a mass on Wednesday, and of course, we talked this morning in our live program this morning about that. But on Wednesday morning, I'll do the mass for him and share a few other recollections.
Okay, so if they want to tune in, especially at 10 a.m. on Wednesday morning, there'll be a memorial mass for Joe Schuyler. And the video I just showed, the least of these. First of all, that song was written for us, for Priest for Life.
Yeah.
By Jamie
Owens Collins.
Yes. She also wrote the Silent No More song for us.
That's
also.
right. Yes. Beautiful songs.
Beautiful songs.
Yeah.
But the least of these describes the work of Joe Schuyler.
Yes.
And also talks about the conversion of Norma McCorvey. Because what was it? It was the least of these. It was for Joe Schuyler getting into the pro-life movement. It was seeing the pictures of that's what an abortion does to a baby. And we're going to play in a few minutes a clip of Norma. But as you remember, one of the things that got her out of the abortion industry was seeing what abortion does to a baby.
Joe Schuyler quoted me in his book, The Racketeer for Life. He quoted me in that book, saying that is often quoted, America will not reject abortion until America sees abortion.
That's right.
It is so true. It's an imperative for the future. It's also a commentary on history because so many people came to a pro-life position precisely by seeing it, because it cuts through the rhetoric, the fog, the deceptions, the sound bites, the slogans.
Obviously, it's not a clump of cells any longer.
Obviously.
All that stuff goes out the window. Well, what I did, Father, so our viewers know this, I went back into our archives. You and I used to do a show called The Gospel of Life, and that was on Sky Angel. So I had remembered we interviewed Norma, when she was alive. Like I've told people on our programs already, she passed away in February of 2017. And we actually spoke to her moments before she passed.
That day,
Yeah. And she told us to continue the fight for her.
Of course.
So let's take a look back at, in her own words, Norma is going to tell us about her change of heart. So let's take a look at that.
And how the Roe versus Wade decision came about. How did you get involved in the case that ultimately legalized abortion in this country?
Well, Father Frank, I found myself pregnant for the third time, second time out of wedlock. I went to an illegal abortion clinic in Dallas. I saw the pitiful conditions that it was in. I wanted to have an abortion, but there was no one there. I hung around for a little while. I finally decided that was not the right thing for me to do. I left. I was talking to an attorney who is going to be handling my second adoption case. And he said that there was two attorneys who had just recently graduated from law school, Sarah Weddington and Linda Coffey, and that they were trying to challenge the Texas statute on abortion. Would I speak with them? I did meet with Sarah Weddington and Linda Coffey a couple of weeks after that.
So you did not go looking for them. They were looking for someone that they could use for their case.
Yes, Father. I don't think they were having too much success looking for a plaintiff. I was a street person then. I was a street person before it was even fashionable. I lived in a park in Dallas, the second live oak tree to the left. I basically went for a free meal.
Yes.
I sat there, I listened to their concerns about women's reproductive rights and health and stuff like that. And I just agreed with them, but I just felt like I had to.
You felt like you had to?
Yes, Father.
What did you want from them and what were they promising to you?
Well, Sarah pretty well indicated that they could most possibly help me get an abortion. Sarah Weddington had had an abortion a year to the day that I met her.
And you were already how far along in your pregnancy?
I was already 4.5 months into my pregnancy.
All right, so we were talking. So there wasn't much time here.
No.
If they were going to help you get an abortion, they would have to move fast.
Yes.
Did that indeed happen?
No, Father. I never had an abortion. I carried my baby to full term and gave the child up for adoption.
Were you disappointed in Sarah Weddington and the other attorney for not
I was
helping you? And what communication was there between you and these lawyers after that initial meeting?
Well, we met a couple of other times in person. Once I signed on the dotted line as being the plaintiff for Roe versus Wade, we had very sporadic contact. I signed the affidavit that brought the Holocaust of abortion into being on in March of 1970.
Now, just to explain to our viewers, you were the Roe, then you were signing, your name was not used in the case. You were the Roe, the anonymous Jane Roe. And then Wade, let's explain to the people who that was.
Henry Wade was the then district attorney of Dallas, Texas.
Okay.
He had said that if he caught any doctors performing any abortions, that he would put them in prison and throw away the key.
Okay. So you never heard from these attorneys then after that? You never appeared in court?
No, I didn't have to. I didn't have to appear before any panel of judges. I didn't have to go to D.C. To the Supreme Court. I was very, very shy then. I know it's hard to believe now, but I was extremely shy. I couldn't even get up in front of my fourth grade class as a child and tell my classmates how I'd spent my summer vacation. I told my dad, that I was pregnant and that I was thinking about getting an abortion. And he told me I didn't have to, that, there was always room for one more.
Yes.
But I had already made a commitment to this one particular couple to give them my child, and I'm very happy that I made that decision.
Now, several years went by from the events that you just described until the time that Roe v. Wade was decided. Roe v. Wade was decided, as you know, on January 22nd of 1973.
Correct.
All these years are going by. Did you have any awareness that because of what you signed on the dotted line, this would become a Supreme Court case?
Well, no, actually, I mean, I just thought that Sarah and Linda would just go downtown and just tell a bunch of people that they wanted to legalize abortion and that it would be done.
Right.
They didn't really explain to me the process of justice and how slow the wheels do turn.
They turned slowly, but then once the case was decided, tell us how you found out about that decision and how you felt on that day.
Oh, well, I read about it in the newspaper. I had came out of a 14-year depression. I'd crawled inside a liquor bottle for about a long time. And I had finally came out of the depression. I went back to work. I came home that first day, and I picked up the newspaper, and in the lower right-hand corner of the Dallas Morning News, the Dallas Times-Herald, it read, so matter-of-factly, in a 7-3 decision, the Supreme Court has legalized abortion throughout the nation. So I read it in the newspaper.
And how did you feel?
You know, Father, I sat there for the longest time, and I was sad. And I really couldn't put my finger on it. I somehow felt in my soul that this was not going to be a good thing.
That's interesting. You were sad because you technically had won.
Technically, the two attorneys had won, Father. See, they were the ones who wanted to legalize abortion in the state of Texas. That was my understanding. They wanted to challenge the Texas statute on abortion. They didn't say about legalize abortion throughout the nation. And I was dumbfounded. I was speechless. I went back into another depression after that, and it took me quite a few years to resolve myself to the fact that because I had signed a piece of paper, because that's all I did, that women were allowed to kill their children before they were born.
It's always moving when you hear her tell it again.
Well, it's in her own words. And like you said, Father, I mean, she was like our personal friend. I mean, I stayed at her house in Dallas. She stayed at my house in New York.
Yeah, we were, you could see, you could read about her in the paper. You could see her in the headlines of press conferences and events. We journeyed with her behind the scenes.
That's right. And what about the journey? This was just a little clip. The full story, as most people hopefully know. Number one, she became 100% pro-life. She was working for an abortion clinic in Dallas when Operation Rescue moved next door. And Reverend Flip Benham and this little girl, Emily, witnessed to Norma.
Right.
And the one thing I always remember about Norma saying was, she was never for abortion hook, line, and sinker.
No, she wasn't.
Never. Like you saw what she said here about the case. Well, I wanted an abortion. I thought I wanted an abortion, but they had me sign. I didn't even understand what I was getting myself into. And I ended up having the Roe baby, which she placed for adoption, which we know.
Yep.
And, it was really a pity, really, what they did to Norma. But anyway, her conversion was they witnessed to her. And eventually, she, like she said, the scales fell from her eyes when she saw what an abortion did to a baby.
And one of the ways to understand her conversion is to realize she was never that far from it in the first place.
Right.
And that's what has to give us hope and confidence as we deal with pro-abortion people today, including people who say they want to have an abortion. Don't think that they're that far away from converting.
Right.
Norma told Gloria Allred when she was going to have the press conference to announce to the world who this Jane Roe was.
Right.
She told her the night before the press conference, "Oh, by the way, I think abortion is wrong." It's like, you don't want that.
Wait. No,
you don't want that as
that.
the poster
No.
child.
No. So she never quite fit in with.
No, she never fit in. No.
The abortion lobby.
And she didn't like them either.
No, she
and
didn't.
they didn't like her.
No, she called them the cast. Remember, Father and Janet did the casting.
We all talked to her about the casting.
Casting
I love the story she would tell about. She testified at a number of congressional hearings,
right.
together with all this cast of characters. That's because she looked at them as they looked down on her, and she looked at them as, oh, these are the elite, star-studded. They called them the star-studded cast.
The star-studded
cast, right? So they're having this hearing one day in front of, I think it was a Senate committee. And so they went down the row on the table, introduced themselves, all these leaders saying what group they ran. And
I'm with
then they got then they got to her and ma'am, give us your name, please. Yes, sir. I'm Norma McCorvey. I'm the Jane Roe of Roe versus Wade. And these ladies, they wish they were.
I know. That's the kind of honesty.
That's her.
Norma did her whole life.
That's right.
So she did convert to Christianity. Reverend Phil Benham actually baptized her. That would have been, let's see, what year was that? That was 90.
That was 95.
95. And then what?
I confirmed her. I received her into the Catholic Church 3 years later.
3 years later.
98.
98. And I was there.
You sure were? You were sitting right next to her.
I was sitting right next to her the whole time. And she became such a devout Catholic. Well, you received her into the church. Who was with you also at that Mass was Father
Robinson, because he was there locally in Dallas. So he helped prepare her, train her. And we both did the ceremony together, as a matter of fact.
And she used to faithfully go to Father Robinson for spiritual direction.
That's right.
I mean, when she came back to when she became a Catholic, she took it very seriously. Right?
Oh, yeah.
And probably you have to tell the people the story about the holy water.
She asked me, do you guys bless water, right? You bless houses. So I went to bless her house.
Right.
And if I'm recalling, this was even before she became a Catholic.
Right.
This was shortly after I met her, after she had been baptized.
Right.
She wasn't Catholic yet.
She wasn't Catholic yet,
but she said
she was beginning to get curious about the faith.
That's right. So she said, could you come bless my house? Bless the house. And I made extra holy water. I said, oh, you can keep this, bless yourself, and then a few weeks later, I was on the phone with her, as we often were on the phone, and I said, so how's your supply of holy water? Oh, Father Frank, don't get mad, but my friend and we forgot it was holy water, and we drank it.
She goes, does that make me extra holy now? That was a funny story, that was for Norma. But and then wasn't it too praying the rosary? That was the next thing she started asking.
Well, it was when she asked me how to pray the rosary that's when I realized she was on her way into the Catholic Church. She would ask me questions about Catholicism. She would come to my masses when I was in the Dallas area and so forth. But that one particular year, but this was already 98, she said, could you send me instructions on how to pray the rosary? Then I said, now we're
getting somewhere.
Now, and I never said to her, hey, Norma, you should become a Catholic.
No.
This was all her and the Lord working on her.
Exactly. Well, I mean, that's what our experience with a lot of our friends that we've known in the
pro-life movement
who have come into the Catholic Church.
A lot of leaders.
We never say you should be Catholic. Matter of fact, the surest way to get someone not to become Catholic is to tell them they should be.
Well, if you make them feel like they're being pushed.
But it's by example. And I think the other thing that Norma, I know when she right before she died, she told us, please continue to work to overturn that terrible decision.
Oh, of course. Well, she would be at this time of year. And of course, this is why we're talking about her today, because the 22nd was the anniversary of Roe v. Wade. And this Friday is the March for Life. Even though it's virtual, there will be some national pro-life leaders there to represent
with
everybody
Jeannie
else.
Mancini,
right.
Of course, in the
March. But it's virtual this year. I mean, society's been turned upside down. We know everything is different this year. We can accept that. It's not any slacking off on anybody's part. Believe me. So, but the point is that Norma would get sad and troubled and distressed come this time of year.
She would.
Like I say, we lived with her through it.
Well, in fact, I remember on the 22nd, she had this sense of deep sorrow.
Oh, deep. It was very deep. Yeah.
And once she converted over to being pro-life, she would come as many times as her health would let her to Washington.
That's
to
right.
March for Life.
And in her final years, when she couldn't do it anymore, she would always give me. I would get on the phone with her a couple of days before the March for Life. I would say, "Okay, Norma, what message do you want to give to the?"
And she would give you
to the march. And so when I would speak, I would convey her message.
Words.
And the last message she gave, it was the March for Life of the year that she died, 2017. She gave a message, and she said, "I want to especially encourage young people to take up the banner of this cause and get involved in saving the babies." She loved the youth aspect of the movement.
Right. And of course, not to forget Sandra Cano, just briefly, Father. People forget all the time that there were 2 Supreme Court decisions on January 22nd.
That's right. And the
Roe
court,
v. Wade and Doe v.
the
Bolton.
court said they were to be read together.
All right. And Sandra Cano also never had an abortion, was taken advantage of by some other lawyers in Georgia. She fled Georgia to have the baby. And she and Norma together worked with our friend Alan Parker from the Justice Foundation for years, trying to overturn their case.
Yes, so it's amazing. The two cases that legalized abortion throughout pregnancy, that's a little piece of the puzzle that a lot of people don't want to don't know and don't want to mention.
Right.
No exceptions throughout pregnancy. The 2 plaintiffs of these cases, Norma McCorvey, Sandra Cano, were both against abortion and wanted to see those cases reversed.
Exactly.
It's amazing when you think about it.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
So it was built on lies.
It was completely.
Completely.
In fact, the justices themselves, I've read through the
How many
oral
times have you read
arguments.
it, Father?
Over
the
a
years?
lot. A lot. But people should do that. Probably people should go back, get the decision.
Right, and read it.
This is all public information. Read it. And you'll see some in things. But one of the things it's kind of funny, actually, in the oral arguments, the justices are asking, about these plaintiffs and in the case of Mary Doe there, Sandra Cano, they were saying, is this a real person at all? Are there any facts to this case? I mean, the abortion industry and those advocates over there, they are so good at just covering things up,
right?
Disguising the facts, right? And the justices were wondering if this was even a real person.
Right. I don't know, Father. Well, like I said, it's up to our audience here to repeat the facts you heard here today. Norma would want you to do that. And if you're not currently involved in the pro-life movement, we want you to be in touch with us and get involved, because that's what Norma's asking really is. Let's all fight to overturn Roe v. Wade and bring an end to abortion in our
And
country.
the first step in overturning is revealing it, exposing it.
That's right. Which we can go to our website, right? What's the web pages?
Well, the
Images?
main site you're
Well,
talking about.
priestforlife.org is our main site, but there's a special to see the images.
Well, I would recommend using the address lookatabortion.org.
Okay.
Yeah,
Look at
look at abortion. We have the pictures there. Yeah.
Okay, that's the best one.
But also exposing it in the sense of exposing what the decision actually said.
Right.
And you read it, and first of all, there's no constitutional reasoning to it. That's a sham. It's not a constitutional argument. But it's also not an absolute assertion of a right to abortion with no exceptions or regulations. By no means does Roe v. Wade say that. In fact, it goes out of its way to say this is not an absolute right that nobody can interfere with or that the state can never regulate. When we have a pro-abortion administration now in the White House, and they try to say, we want to codify Roe v. Wade. Well, they're going to have kind of a hard time doing that because, first of all, the court has weakened Roe v. Wade in all the subsequent decisions on abortion. And secondly, Roe v. Wade itself is weaker than the current position on abortion of the abortion industry, Planned Parenthood, and the Democrat Party. They want abortion on demand without exception, without apology. That was not what Roe v. Wade said.
Exactly.
But we can go into that more in another program, where we go probe more deeply.
Well, we should future programs. We should do a program on Roe v. Wade and just pick apart and give the people the sound bite. So we'll do that.
We will.
Well, thank you, Father, for being tables turned. You are my guest on my show. So, brothers and sisters, we want you involved. Of course, our main website, priestforlife.org, but also, too, we have some great products this month at our online store, which is prolifeproducts.org. And in fact, for the young people, there's a wonderful T-shirt. It says, I survived Roe v. Wade, which means if you were born after 1973, you're a survivor of Roe v. Wade. And then the next part of the shirt says, but Roe will not survive me. That's a very positive statement. I know Norma would love to see a lot of you wearing it. So go to prolifeproducts.org and get your Roe t-shirt today. And of course, be in touch with us at Priest for Life. Until next time, this is Janet Morano, the Executive Director of Priest for Life. God bless.